What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Jade up here. Um, so this video is something that's it's gonna be about something that's close to my heart. Um, it, and as you can tell probably by the title of the video, it's gonna be about mental illnesses. Um, and this is only part of the reason why this is so important to me is I myself have mental illnesses, mental diseases, whatever you want to call them, and not fun. But there's such like a stereotype. I want to say against people and about people with mental illnesses. And I just basically this video is to just kind of let you guys have a little inside look at what it's like to have mental illnesses, to know people with mental illnesses, to live with other people who have mental illnesses, and just like how, yes, they affect our lives, but how much we really hate the stereotypes. So I'll just start with mine. So I've been medically diagnosed with severe depressive disorder, general anxiety disorder, PTSD, bipolar disorder, ADHD, ODD. It's hard to keep track of them all. I have OCD tendencies, but it doesn't quite make the disorder category. So I've never really been diagnosed with OCD. Sorry, I'm also on the computer at the same time. I want to give you guys both the medical definitions and as along with everything else, because we're not just going to cover my disorders. I know people who are all over the spectrum with disorders, and and I know the staples, and I guess that's the word I was looking for, the staples and the stereotypes put on them and their disorders and everything. Let's see. So I guess the first one I'll discuss is my depression. And a lot of people will be like, oh, I'm so depressed, and yeah, I mean, you can be depressed, but like it's not, in my opinion, being somebody who suffered from depression, medically diagnosed in 4th grade, and I just recently graduated high school. So yeah, I have depression. So it's not fun. It's really not. So the medical definition of major depressive disorder is: depression is a mood disorder that causes a persistent feeling of sadness and loss of interest. So yes, people can display depressive tendencies, but what I'm sure that if I were to go in and click on the actual link, it'd go more into depth. Like, it has to affect your everyday life. So, like, if you're constantly isolating yourself, or you're constantly avoiding people, those are things that helped diagnose my depression. And those are some of the major things. What comes from depression? Normally, suicidal thoughts. And if it gets bad enough, attempts. So, I've been medically diagnosed since 4th grade, but I displayed those tendencies further on, further before that. And a lot of my diagnoses kind of intertwine. But, so a stereotype that we with depression get is that, we never want to be around anybody. Or we're just so sad all the time, we just don't enjoy anything. Which isn't true. Whenever we are in one of our downs, as we call them our highs or lows. Everybody has their highs, lows. Our lows are a bit more severe. Whenever we get into one of our bad lows, we put out that we don't want to be around people. When in all reality, we want somebody there to talk to. Somebody there to listen and, tell us things are going to be okay. Help us get through those lows. And I'm lucky enough to have some friends who, whenever I get like that, who are there to talk to me. And my mom, I'm lucky to have my mom, because if it wasn't for her, I'm gonna be honest, I probably would not be making this video. Because whenever I would get so far gone in a low, she would take me and I'd go check into a mental hospital and I'd get the help I needed. So, I do suggest, there's also that staple that if you go to a mental hospital, you're freaking insane. But, that's not true. I've met people who are just so upset and done with life that they had nowhere else to go, and that was me. But, enough on depression, because if I keep talking about it, then I'm gonna go into one of those lows. Okay, so the next one on my list is my anxiety, and general anxiety disorder. It's a toss-up, basically every day. The medical definition for anxiety is a general term for several disorders that cause nervousness, fear, apprehension, and worrying. These disorders affect how we feel and behave, and they can manifest real physical symptoms. Anxiety, like I said, it's a toss-up. So, what you really have to watch out for with anxiety is just what can trigger you, for lack of better terms. What's going to set you off and go into a full-blown attack? For me, that can be making videos occasionally, or just random things. A test, an interview, and everybody suffers from anxiety attacks. Yeah, I get that. But, some people's are worse than others, and these are the people who suffer from an anxiety disorder. And for everybody, it's different. For me, when I have an anxiety attack, I can be outside in blistering southern heat and be freezing. There are times where I'm sitting there freezing, shivering so bad because I'm that cold. And like I said, it could be blistering, 90s, 100-degree heat. And I'm freezing. That's just how I suffer from anxiety attacks, or just one of the ways. Everybody's different. Anxiety, the stereotype is we're always nervous. We always think the worst is going to happen. Oh my God, this could go wrong or that can go wrong. Not true. Okay, just not true. Again, with anxiety, it's kind of like depression. Whenever we start getting into those attacks, we really want somebody there who we can just sit and talk to who we can sit and talk to get this off our chest, basically. So, like, that's how that goes. My next diagnosis is, the so fun PTSD. For those of you who have heard the term PTSD but have no idea what it means, it's short for post-traumatic stress disorder. These are people who had such a traumatic event in their past that it still affects them today. What led to me being diagnosed, I've been diagnosed with PTSD for, wow, I don't even remember how long. It's been a while. But, like, things that can trigger PTSD are abuse, neglect. Like, for me, that's what it was. For some people, for veterans, it's war. For some people, it's as disgusting of an act, such as being raped. If the event happens and it's traumatic enough, PTSD is very likely to happen. And you can get medications for it, but I've worked through my PTSD, and my advice is to seek a good trauma therapist. So, I found a trauma therapist who did this technique called EMDR, and for those of you who've never even heard of EMDR, it stands for Eye Movement Desensitization and Reprocessing. And basically the whole point of it is you follow, like they'll wave something in front of your face and you follow it with your eyes, and it's supposed to help you, like, work through it and, like, slowly remember more. There was actually an episode of Criminal Minds in which Morgan, was it Morgan? I'm pretty sure it was Morgan, used EMDR to help somebody try and remember a little bit more about what had happened. So that's basically all I have to say for PTSD, which brings me to, we'll go to bipolar next. So bipolar, that's all correct. Bipolar is always a fun illness, again, for lack of better terms. I use the term illness with these very loosely, because these don't have to be long. You find the right treatment, the treatment that works for you, it doesn't last long at all. But so bipolar was previously called manic depression, in which you would swing from being manic, which can mean anything from, like, freaking batshit crazy and just flipping out all the time, to super depressed. Manic can also mean also with bipolar, the manic depression can also mean you're depressed and then boom, you switch, and it's like somebody flipped a light switch in your mind, and you're no longer depressed. You're going through your day, everything's fine, you're having a good day. Or it can work reversed, vice versa, where you're having a fabulous day, everything's going your way, and one thing happens and switch is flipped. Now you're depressed. Now you don't know what to do with your life. It all, like, that kind of leads into personality disorders and other things, anxiety disorders and a whole bunch. So basically the whole point of bipolar, what it basically says is you have mood swings and you have lots of them. So really the best way for that is don't rely on it, but go to a psychiatrist, have them diagnose you if you truly suffer from it. And they'll know. You won't, but they will. And mood stabilizers are a great help. I take mood stabilizers myself, and they help. So basically, if you think you suffer from a mental illness, the whole point of this, besides informing everybody, is if you think you suffer, go seek help first and get it medically diagnosed, get it medically certified that you do or you don't. But like something that is often associated with bipolar is, oh, they're uncontrollable. You never know what's going to happen. Like, no, not really. If you know the person well enough and you know, like, what can set them off, because it's going to happen. It may not happen every day. It may not even happen every week. But it's going to happen. So if you know the person well enough, just help them work through it and help them to try and avoid such things. So that's bipolar. Next is the fun diagnosis of ADHD, and I am almost 100% sure that you all know what ADHD is. It's such a freaking controversy that parents will take their children in and be like, oh, my child has trouble focusing, they're ADHD, give them meds. No, they're a child. There's more to ADHD than they can't focus. And if that's just the problem, that's not even ADHD, that's ADD, attention deficit disorder. ADHD is attention deficit hyperactive disorder. But like if they just can't focus, that's not even ADHD. But like if they can't focus and they're hyper all the time, like that's not, again, not necessarily ADHD, that's being a child. That's just how children are, and that's when that's diagnosed the most. But I actually suffer from ADHD, and the cool thing about ADHD is it can go dormant. You can control it, and it's one of the few disorders that you can have pretty much complete and total control over. I have it. I use it I use it to help me whenever I am doing something, or I'm at work and I have something I need to do and I have a time frame to do it. What I do is I kind of let my ADHD kick in and take over, and I go and I get it done, and I get it done right, and I come back and I can it'll take a little bit to turn it off, for lack of better terms, but I can stop it, and then it's no longer active, basically. But people are always like, oh, you can't control them, blah blah blah, they're so hyper, they don't ever pay attention to anything. Woo, shut the hell up. Because again, not true. You can control it really well. That's really enough for ADHD. Hold on, bear with me, guys. That's not what I wanted to type. Oh, how do you spell this one? I think that's right? Pretty sure it's not. No, it wasn't. So, next we'll do, a little less than 9 minutes. Next we'll do, Tourette's syndrome. I have a friend who suffers from Tourette's. I've had many friends who have suffered from Tourette's. Tourette's, basically, medication does work, or so I've been told. Again, I don't suffer from this, but medication does work, so I've been told. But a big part of Tourette's is they don't have complete control. And this is from what I have observed. They don't necessarily always have complete control. They can start twitching, they can just make random noises, and it's not really their fault. It's just the way their brain is wired, and they can't really help it. Now, some people who suffer from Tourette's get better at it, better at controlling it, where it doesn't happen as often, but it's kind of inevitable from my experiences. That's just kind of how that goes. And I personally don't know a whole lot about it. That's something that if you wanted to know more about, I could get a hold of my friend who has it, maybe even have her record her telling her story about it and what it's like growing up with it. But the last one we'll do for this video, because I'm running out of time, guys, is autism. So, this is, again, one of those parents take their children to the doctor and go, oh, they have autism. No, not really. In my 18 years of life, I think I've met maybe 3 people who actually have been diagnosed with autism. Why is that changing colors? Okay. Yeah, I've probably met about 3 people who suffered from autism. And autism is such a wide spectrum, guys. You can have high-functioning autism, which are like... Hold on, I don't want to get this wrong. I don't want to get these... I don't want to get these wrong. Well, okay. It's not an official term. But, you have people who, like, have Asperger's, and if you've ever seen Girl Meets World, Farkle had Asperger's. People with Asperger's tend to be a lot smarter. But one thing with autism is they have no concept of time. None whatsoever. So, like, I live with somebody who has autism, and he has no concept of time. I'm not docking him. I'm not berating him. It's just kind of what happens. They just lose their concept of time altogether, and they can't control it. So, something with people who have autism, make that hold on, thinking, make that 4 people I met who had it. Let's see. Yeah, make that 4 people. I'm pretty sure 4 I've met who've had it. And you just have to work with them, guys. Just because autism is such a wide spectrum, you don't really know what's gonna happen. So I'm running out of time, guys, for this video. Like I've said in the past, all videos are recorded, edited, and posted from my phone, and we all know phones have limited memory, and yeah, so I had like 29 minutes to record this video, and I'm coming up on 25. But so basically the whole point of this is if you meet somebody who has a mental disorder or a mental illness, don't shun them, don't turn them away. Find out more about it, because it's really intriguing. Like, when you get into, like, the quirks of the mental illnesses and the psychology behind them, it's quite interesting. It really is. But, so, if you meet somebody with a mental illness, research it, because you never know what you can learn. I'm just telling you how these disorders that I have affect me. Like I said, each disorder affects each person differently. So research the disorder and find out more about it. If it's one of those, and basically also just be with them. Don't, like I said, don't shun them, don't turn them away. In fact, embrace them, embrace their differences, and help them through it. If they need someone to talk to, be that person they can turn to talk to. If they need a shoulder to cry on, be that shoulder. But so, like, just be there for people, guys. You have no idea how much of a difference it can make in their life. Like I said, I have my few friends who I go and I talk to whenever I get into one of my moods, for lack of better terms. And if it wasn't for them, and if it wasn't for my mom, I'm gonna be honest, I probably would not be sitting here today making this video for you. So, that's really all the more I have to say on this topic for now, guys. Maybe later, some date in the future, I'll revisit this topic and update you guys on things, and maybe I'll find some new disorders and do some more research on ones I've mentioned, and we never know. Anyways, that's it, and I'll see all y'all in the next one. Later.